Good morning. My name is Denise Wilson, and I'm a member of this congregation. On behalf of Reverend Dave Dunn, Music Director Alex Peach, and our technical team that's making today's live stream possible, it's my great joy to welcome you both in person once again and online to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North congregation, which we lovingly call UUMAN. UUMAN is a liberal faith community with the mission to nurture our spirit, strive for justice, and transform the world. Whoever you are, whomever you love, or wherever you are on your spiritual journey, all are welcome here. There are some important guidelines to follow here on campus. Masks are mandatory, especially indoors. Please continue to wear your mask during Joys and Sorrows at that microphone, and maintain social distancing while indoors, especially in small spaces. If you are visiting with us today, we would love for you to fill out a visitor information form. And if you're visiting online, you can find this form on our website. Someone from our membership team will be happy to contact you. After the service today, please join us for coffee and conversation, both online, the link is on the website, and in person in the fellowship hall. Everyone is invited for community sharing and support. The first ever Sunday service reflection will be held today from 11:15 to noon in the fellowship hall. This will be an open discussion regarding today's service and our own reflections on the topic. If you'll be joining virtually, please look for the link on the calendar on the website. The UUA is acting as allies with Georgia Latino Alliance for Human Rights to stop the expansion of an ICE detention facility in Folkston, Georgia. The facility is slated to nearly quadruple in size, from 780 to 3,018 beds, and will now be one of the largest in the country. For comparison, Folkston's population is 4,400. Reverend Dave and Reverend Susan Carlston of the Savannah congregation will be acting as co-captains of the UUA's Side with Love organizing team. We hope to recruit UUs to stand with GLAR to stop the expansion of this facility. This action will take place on Thursday, March 3rd in Folkston, and the UUA has offered to financially assist anyone who will be traveling and or staying overnight in Folkston. Please contact Reverend Dave for more information. And finally, you may have noticed the beautiful new artwork in our sanctuary on display courtesy of UUMAN's very own painting group, Lushes with Brushes, led by Annette Pate. Please take some time to view the show and remember that with each sale, a contribution is made to UUMAN.
What is abundance? What do we call riches and bounty?
Abundance is all around us.
That we are alive is priceless. That we are loved is beyond worth.
That we love others, in turn, fills our souls.
The gifts of food that Mother Earth provides from her body, endlessly renewing, generously feeding all.
The gifts of spirit that our sacred source provides, freely and without need of recompense. Holy, holy, holy.
The friends and family surrounding us, our possessions, the homes that shelter us, are all forms of abundance.
The seasons and tides forever circling, sunrises and sunsets, the blessings of another day. In this we are gifted.
Remember, too, to be grateful. Take time to thank the provider for your bounty.
With gratitude, with thanks, with love do we fill our hearts.
May you be forever blessed, remembering that even in times of scarcity, we are ever blessed.
May we share what we have with those who have nothing and be agents of abundance.
And now let us light our chalice together.
The chalice lighting this morning is called Daybreak by Robin Gray. Day breaks on our gratitude for family and friends, for the freedom to find our own truth, for the company of those who gather here, and the promises we offer one another. Let the light of day bring the grace of faith into our lives.
Good morning. My name's Randy Blosh, and I'm a member of this congregation, and I'm serving this year as your stewardship chair. One of our members who I haven't seen for a long time came up to me this morning and said, "Are we going to hear your melodious voice today?" Oh, you should be careful what you ask for. I want everybody to take a moment. Take a moment and look around. Look at the ceiling. Look at the chairs. Look out the window at the trees. And in the parking lot at all the cars we arrived in this morning. Look at your friends and family who are sitting with or near you. Everybody turn around and look at the camera at all our friends who are with us in spirit, if not in person. Look around. Take a good look around. We are blessed people. We are blessed by what this place is and has brought us. We are blessed. Just look around. Through these last few months, many of us have struggled even more than we have in the past, and it may have been even a worse struggle if not for this place. Last week in service, I promised no hard sell for your stewardship dollars, and I promise the same, at least for today. All I ask for you to do is look around. I want to let you know that starting next Sunday, in the coffee area, we will have a stewardship table out to start answering your questions about what we need and why it is so important that we continue this work, this place for each and every one of us who have ever crossed that threshold or ever will. And in addition to the table, we will have stewardship ambassadors who will be here to answer your questions. And starting with the first Sunday in March, we'll have a station right here. For those of you who are having trouble making your pledge online, we'll be able to help you do it right here in church. Watch your email, watch the announcements for all the next steps on how you can work together to make UUMAN what it is. So, no hard sell today. Just look around.
Now is the time in our service when the love that binds us is spoken aloud. Within the loving community of this congregation, we take time to share with one another our joys and sorrows. If you are so moved, please feel free to come forward, drop a pebble in the bowl, and while wearing your mask, express a joy or sorrow that you may have. For those of you attending via our live stream, if you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share this morning, please type it in the chat.
I got sorrow. 2 days ago, I have a teeth surgery, and it was not really good, so I cannot eat crunchy food. And I got joy. 4 months ago, I think, I turned 9, and it was super fun.
Hello, my name is Lexi. I get really bad stage fright. So I have a sorrow. So I work in the healthcare field, and in case you guys didn't know, extremely understaffed. So it's been a really tough week. So that's my concern. Teaching OWL every week has given me something to look forward to, and I'm so blessed to do that. And now we can meet in person. So.
I have two stones of sorrow concern. The first one is for my uncle, Steve Flanders, who had a mild heart attack this past week. Doesn't look like there was any damage. He's had some heart problems in the past, but looks like he's recovering nicely. And this is for my advisor and professor, Dr. Mark Hicks, who had a serious medical issue come up a few weeks ago. He is recovering, and we hope to get him back by the end of the semester. So he's recovering.
And I'll drop a final pebble for those joys and sorrows still too tender to escape the folds of our hearts. May we keep one another in our hearts for the coming week. We have a reading this morning called Escape from Hell by Renee Thorne. By the time you grow up, there will be no need for you to go to college, my father told me. The world will be ending soon, and you will have other things to worry about. My mother died early in my childhood, and later my father explained that God had taken her life in order to spare her from the coming apocalypse that she had so feared. I feared it too, but I was left behind to face whatever would come. Heaven awaited us, but first a living hell. When I told my father that I had been afraid there was a demon beneath my bed the night before, he said, "Maybe there was. That's why you need to pray when you get scared." It was advice that I would follow for a long time, even after my childhood came and went, and the apocalypse never arrived. When I read in the Bible that blasphemy of the Holy Spirit was an unforgivable sin, I was sure that it was something I had done. I remember being at school and thinking how odd it was to carry this secret. There I was, kicking a soccer ball with my friends, and they had no idea I was going to hell. This world was no longer my home, but how I wished it could be. I can't recall the exact moment when the fear finally broke and I began to breathe, but I do remember a growing sense of relief that what my parents taught me might not all be true. I began to look around me as if Earth were a place where perhaps I could really belong. I still find myself often trying to unravel religion from reality. Religion is a language I no longer know how to speak, but I no longer believe that this world is not my home. Sometimes I try to imagine what heaven might be, if not simply a place to escape to. I have so recently begun to know the earth, to feel its rhythms in my bloodstream. I can't help but hope that heaven is not elsewhere. After all these years, the apocalypse has come, one horizon swallowed by another, the glorious end of a childhood plagued by fears that would drag me from this earth, and now it is life that awaits me.
A Facebook post shared by one of our members. Fact: my mom puts shredded carrots in my Jell-O, so don't tell me about your rough childhood. And our member adds to the post saying, yes, sitting on a lettuce leaf with a dollop of mayo on top. Ah. Who does that to children? They'll let anyone become parents and ministers. Comedian George Carlin said, "The other night I ate at a real nice family restaurant. Every table had an argument going." Yes, a real nice family restaurant. But just what is a real nice family anyway? Many often invoke the Bible and to tell us just what a real family is. And they usually say that it's led by a man and a woman and that they subscribe to a particular set of values. Well, if you actually look at the Bible, you'll see that a family is usually led by a man with many, many women serving that man. That seems to be the tradition in the Bible. Abraham had his wife Sarah, who was the mother of Isaac. Yet he also had his concubine Hagar, who actually gave birth to his firstborn son, Ishmael. And then later he married another concubine, Keturah, upon the death of his wife Sarah. Jacob had 12 boys and one girl from his wives, Rachel and Leah, and his two concubines, Bilhah and Zilpah. And King David had perhaps 20 different children with 6 or 7 different wives. David didn't seem to marry for love, actually. He seemed to marry women who could serve an interest or a political agenda of his. But he died actually cold and lonely. Some of the values shown in the Bible wouldn't be any that I would be espousing. I mean, Cain killed his brother Abel right off the bat there in Genesis. And then Joseph, one of Jacob's sons, was sold by his brothers into slavery in Egypt. And then David had one of his own warriors, Uriah, killed so he could marry Uriah's widow, Bathsheba, with whom he had already committed adultery. I think I'll pass on some of those values. Today we live in what we call nuclear families, which is a husband and a wife and children, or extended families when maybe members of one of the parents also family members from one of the parents also live in that family. We have reconstituted families, that families merge together, and you have stepbrothers, stepsisters, stepmothers. We have single-parent families. We have families led by same-sex couples or trans couples. In our culture, these still are kind of essentially spin-offs or derivatives of what we call the nuclear family. It's, in our culture, the gold standard of what a family is generally supposed to be. And it's what is referred to when people lament the erosion of the traditional family. We generally take it for granted that this nuclear family, this model, is the best, healthiest way to have a family. Yet cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead said, nobody has ever before asked the nuclear family to live all by itself in a box the way we do, with no relatives, no support. We've put it in an impossible situation. Some cultures do things differently. Some still practice arranged marriages. Sociologist Nicholas Christakis said, respondents to a small study of couples in arranged marriages from a variety of backgrounds rated their level of love on a scale of 1 to 10. It was 3.9 when they were married. It was 8.5 20 years later. And he attributes this increased level of love, again, arranged marriages, to the commitment and trust that those partners have in that relationship over time, that it grows over time. It's different than now how we constitute, how we pair together. In some matrilineal societies where the ancestry is traced through the mother, biological fatherhood is irrelevant. Children are raised by their mothers and their uncles, who are siblings. The mothers and the uncles are siblings. Think about that. Does it make sense? Siblings who have a long-term relationship, they've known each other their whole lives, have a long-term relationship through their mother, raise the children together rather than the biological fathers who are essentially outsiders. Children don't get to choose the cultures and families into which they're born. Cultures, families that put shredded carrots in Jell-O served on a lettuce leaf and a dollop of mayo. Families that might teach their children that they're going to hell if they die before the impending apocalypse. On the whole, Margaret Mead just might be right. There's nothing wrong with the idea of the nuclear family. Nothing wrong at all. But have we put families in an impossible situation, isolated, all by themselves, and expect it to work time and time and time and time again? Some families can no doubt thrive, do well inside a box. But throw in drug addiction, alcoholism, sexual abuse, mental illness, and the stigma associated with all of those things, and that box with a lid on it could become easily overwhelmed. Writer Linda McCullough Moore writes of the pain of being hurt and forgotten by her mother. She writes, "Please tell me how, when she was very old, my mother said to you that she never meant to hurt me, how she missed me, how she wished I'd never gone away. And tell me how, as she lay dying, she told you that she was setting off to look for me, to find me and bring me home. Whisper those words to me softly over and over again and have them be the truth. Linda McCullough Moore. When I was in seminary, I served as a hospice chaplain, and one day at the facility, a woman calls me over, and she was sitting in a hospice room, her mother next to her, unconscious. And this woman's, she's kind of angry, actually. She says, "Is it wrong for me to hate my mother? I hate her. Yet I'm her only child, and that's the only reason I'm here. There's no one else." And then she starts crying and says, "For years, she stood by and let her husband, my stepfather, sexually abuse me. She knew, yet did nothing." Last week, I said that everyone comes from somewhere. The weight and the pain that some people have to carry is immense, and it all starts from somewhere. Often, sadly, in that family box, that impossible situation with a lid on it. When one of my nieces in Pennsylvania was a newlywed, her husband got a job in Texas. Not knowing anyone in Texas, and with her husband having a job where he would be on call essentially 24 hours a day, she said, "Nope, I'm not going unless my mom comes with us." And her mom, my sister, did come. And my nephew, my niece's brother, he came too. And eventually my nephew met a woman and they fell in love, got married, they had kids. And by this time, my niece and her husband, they had kids, all in the same house, all in the same roof, two families, and my sister, their mother. It was a unique situation and completely stress-free. I'm sure they had their stresses, but it works for them. In last week's service, we heard voices say that marriage is hard. It's a marathon. And it is under any circumstances. And maybe more often than not, or at least more often than we'd like to admit, we ask a lot of ourselves, perhaps too much even, to make it work. Please just assume that you cannot carry it all by yourself, that it's okay to ask for help. As you use, we believe inherently that there is nothing wrong with you, that you were born just fine the first time, that you are worthy and deserve to be safe, not hurt, and that if you're lost, you're worth looking for, and that you're always worthy of being welcomed home no matter what, and that this earth is a place you can belong.
an effort to fulfill and further the vision and mission of this congregation, we ask that our members and friends bring forth and share their many and varied gifts. With this, we would now take the offering. You may also give using the Givelify app. Thank you.
We accept this sacred offering, generously given by our beloved members and friends, and may we use it wisely and judiciously in service of our mission.
Our second reading this morning is called So Much is Held in a Heart by Brian Doyle. Mammals and birds have hearts with 4 chambers. Reptiles and turtles have hearts with 3 chambers. Fish have hearts with 2 chambers. Insects and mollusks have hearts with 1 chamber. Worms have hearts with 1 chamber, although they may have as many as 11 single-chambered hearts. Unicellular bacteria have no hearts at all, but even they have fluid eternally in motion, washing from one side of the cell to the other, swirling and whirling. No living being is without interior liquid motion. We all churn inside. So much held in a heart in a lifetime, so much held in a heart in a day, an hour, a moment. We are utterly open with no one in the end, not mother and father, not wife or husband, not lover, not child, not friend. We open windows to each, yet we live alone in the house of the heart. Perhaps we must. Perhaps we could not bear to be so naked for fear of a constantly harrowed heart. When young, we think there will come one person who will savor and sustain us always. When we are older, we know this is the dream of a child. that all hearts finally are bruised and scarred, scorned and torn, repaired by time, and will, patched by force of character, yet fragile and rickety forevermore, no matter how ferocious the defense and how many bricks you bring to the wall. You can brick up your heart as stout and tight and hard and cold and impregnable as you possibly can, and down it comes in an instant, felled by a woman's second glance, a child's apple breath, the shatter of glass in the road, the words, "I have something to tell you," a cat with a broken spine dragging itself into the forest to die, the brush of your mother's papery ancient hand in the thicket of your hair, the memory of your father's voice early in the morning, echoing from the kitchen where he is making pancakes for his children. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
So much is held in a heart. And living life, a life always experienced through the filter of our families, can sometimes leave us bruised and scarred, tattered, and rickety. Please remember that you are worthy and deserving, and that you were born just right the first time. Go in peace and enjoy your week.